I imagine that a lot of you envision retiring and working as full-time private investors. To invest your money in different stocks of your choosing and have enough money to live a comfortable and fulfilling life. According to the 4% rule, $1 million might be sufficient to allow you to leave your job. Here is a brief story that will serve as an introduction to the 4% rule for those of you who are unfamiliar. This is Tom here. Tom, a father and husband, is 43 years old. While working as an engineer full-time, Tom has been making stock market investments for 20 years. Tom spends $37,000 on living expenses each year. Tom has consistently invested and saved money, and as a result, he is now the proud owner of a portfolio worth $1 million in the stock market. Well done, Tom. Suppose that Tom can earn 4% from his investments each year, which is a reasonable assumption. He would receive $40,000 as a result, which would more than cover his living expenses. Knowing this, Tom leaves his engineering 9 to 5 on the day of his 44th birthday. He will now spend more time doing the things that make him truly happy, such as playing tennis, hiking, and investing in stocks. This video is based on 12 wealthy private investors who, like Tom, left their jobs in their 40s to devote more time to the things that mattered to them while still building their wealth through stock market investments. These people inspire me in particular because they don't seem to be superhumans. If they can do it, so can we. This is a list of the top 5 lessons learned from Free Capital. The Swedish investor is here to provide you with the best advice and resources for using stock market investing to achieve financial independence. 1. First lesson learned, don't delve too far. Let's go back to Tom from earlier. Tom, who has some experience, has a knack for figuring out the crucial metrics of particular investments. Let's say Tom is interested in a business called DeBeef, which manufactures and distributes plant-based beef to restaurants. Tom doesn't waste much time looking around every corner when analyzing DeBeef. He purchases the shares after determining that the company is valued favorably in relation to the prior year's earnings and cash flow, and he then concentrates on monitoring DeBeef's key growth drivers. Those who, in the long run, will either make or break the company. In this instance, he determines that DeBeef's pricing power will provide him with a wealth of information regarding the product's level of competitiveness. He can find and track the average price in the annual reports. Second, according to his investment thesis, DeBeef will be able to maintain its historically high earnings growth. In connection with the company's highest expense, which is its cost of sales and advertising, he will therefore track how many restaurants the business is able to add to its customer base in addition to the pricing. Tom wants to be the first to know if growing is becoming more expensive. Warren Buffett employs this tactic. He said that predicting how Coke will perform in the future basically involves figuring out 2 variables, the number of cases sold and the earnings per case, in the 1998 Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholder meeting. The same is true, according to Buffett, for Geico. The investors in the book Free Capital have one thing in common: they frequently overlook details in favor of concentrating on the few trends and statistics that they perceive to be the most important. If you try to keep track of everything, chances are you'll start giving each parameter equal weight even though only a few of them are important. Additionally, acquiring new information always entails a loss of opportunity, so one must constantly assess whether continuing their research is worthwhile. Usually, the devil is in the details. 2. The second lesson is to relish the hardship. Even seasoned and wealthy investors frequently experience major setbacks early in their investing careers, and the investors in this book are no exception. After all, if you excel at the game, the rewards are extraordinary, so it only makes sense that there would be some rivalry. It is difficult to predict how businesses will perform in the future and then determine whether to price their shares at the low or high end of the market based on that. Let's just say that there are simpler job descriptions available. You may be at the start of the Dunning-Kruger curve if you haven't yet realized how challenging this can be. When you start a new interest, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias that causes you to initially overestimate your aptitude. You start to understand your incapability only after going through some difficulty. A common phenomenon among stock market investors is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which states that even with an investment strategy that is riddled with holes the size of a Swiss cheese, you can get lucky for a while and make a lot of money. Don't confuse brains with a bull market, as the saying goes. What does Charlie Munger say, do you know? It's not meant to be simple. Those who find it simple are stupid. When they should be listening, they talk. Instead of chasing or anticipating big returns, the investor should concentrate on learning as much as they can in the beginning. You cannot achieve a good risk-adjusted return, which is what it's all about, before you are at least a decent investor. This is true merely because you won't even be able to perceive the risk part in the early stages of your Dunning-Kruger journey due to a lack of experience and knowledge. But this is a time that should be cherished and welcomed. It is beneficial to make some significant mistakes during the learning process, and it is much more pleasant to do so early on when your portfolio is likely still quite small than it is later on when mistakes are much more costly. Do you currently or recently have trouble finding a job? Keep in mind that it is expected and normal. This difficulty will motivate you to work harder. And if it wasn't difficult, then everybody would be able to do it and the opportunity would have passed. 3. Strive for liberation. Third lesson learned: strive for liberation. The first step to becoming a successful investor is realizing that you shouldn't prioritize consumption. Freedom ought to. One of the main ways to delay your plan to live off of your investment portfolio is to stop the compounding by taking out sizable sums for consumption before you have reached your objective. The first rule of compounding, according to Munger once more, is to never stop at mid-process. Consumption may provide some temporary satisfaction and satisfy some vanity traits, but keep in mind that it will put off your eventual goal of retiring from your portfolio. Consider that whenever you see someone driving around in a Lamborghini, you are also seeing someone who is a Lamborghini poorer. Then, is it worthwhile? Contrary to popular belief, prioritizing freedom will increase your likelihood of later being able to spend more on consumption. So, if you have the resolve to endure a brief period of hunger, you can indeed have your cake and eat it too. Focus matters. 4. Takeaway number 4, focus is important. People with successful stock market careers frequently manage fairly concentrated portfolios. The characters in this book are also true to this. Less than 10 companies made up the average person's portfolio. What makes you believe that is? According to Warren Buffett, if you have a harem of 40 women, you never get to know any of them very well. Building an investment portfolio is really just a game of stacking stocks that will likely outperform the market. What impact do you think adding an additional 30 ideas to that portfolio will have after you've added your top 10 suggestions? That's accurate. This will lower your anticipated returns if your investment strategy really has a competitive advantage. The concentrated portfolio approach is frequently criticized on the grounds that investing in just a few companies exposes you to undue risk and causes your portfolio to fluctuate excessively. Even though I wouldn't agree that volatility is a measure of risk, once you've added like 7 different companies to a stock portfolio, the volatility will be significantly reduced, making this argument completely untrue. However, even though a seasoned investor can focus even more than that, Warren Buffett has on several occasions had 40% or more of his capital in a single stock. A more concentrated portfolio can be detrimental to a novice investor. As volatility rises, managing it becomes frequently more psychologically stressful. Instead of aiming for the stars, the novice should make an investment that guarantees that he participates in the game. 5. What motivates you? The 5th lesson is, what motivates you? What do you know? Who are you? You should create an investing strategy that works for you based on things like your skills, personality, profession, and interests. There are numerous techniques and strategies available for making money in the stock market. You need a strategy that works for you if you want to maximize portfolio returns while minimizing sleepless nights. You, and not someone else. A more quantitative approach might be more appropriate for you if, like me, you have an engineering background. However, if your background is in the arts or in customer service, your process might benefit from a qualitative approach that leans more toward the company's background stories. As Peter Lynch famously said, if you like the store, chances are you'll love the stock. Attending many annual shareholder meetings can potentially generate a lot of value for you and provide you with a lot of insights if you are an outgoing person. But if you're an introvert, that might just be discouraging and stressful for you. Or perhaps you toil 80 hours per week at a well-paying position. Then give up on trying to pick stocks altogether, for the time being, and create a fully automated index investing strategy. No matter what, take some time to consider your interests. Don't create a strategy that you know from the start relies on techniques that make you sick to your stomach. Otherwise, you won't have the stamina to stick with it over the long haul. You'll probably need to take a few different paths in order to figure out what suits you. I may have once referred to myself as an IPO arbitrager, despite the fact that I most definitely do not consider myself a trader these days. Or, I take that back, a loss generator for an initial public offering would have been more accurate. In any case, it's likely that your initial approach won't be the one that generates your future wealth. All metrics are not created equally. We are all beginners at some point. Embrace the learning process. Don't sacrifice your long-term happiness for momentary gratification. Be selective with your investments. Create an investment plan that works for you. If you want to see how Warren Buffett made his first $1 million in the stock market, watch the video after that. My friend Richard Dykes, who helped make this video possible, is greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys.